When you read the Old Testament, especially stories of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, realize those are reports. It's not intended for you to copy the attitudes of the people you see in that report unless those attitudes are in line with Christ. About Isaac, the son of Abraham, whom he begot with his wife Sarah. Isaac had faith. Remember when Abraham thought it was God's plan for him to sacrifice Isaac on the altar? Isaac was willing to get along with his father and to be killed by his dad to glorify God. But hold on a minute. He was about to lose his life, but yet he had faith. Man, that Isaac had a lot of faith, man. Seriously, he had faith. And look at this. When Abraham died and Isaac continued, he was wise. He was smart. Look, he got resistance. The Amalekites around him didn't want him around, so he had to move with his household because his harvest of his land was the best and it was the most in quantity. And if you had a lot of cattle and a lot of agricultural goods in that time, you were rich, you mattered. But the people there couldn't stand that this Isaac, this what they considered a nomad, was so wealthy, so they kicked him out of their community. Isaac left. But Abraham had wells that he established throughout the land of Canaan. So he went to one of the wells of his dad. Remember, Abraham was rich. Abraham was materially wealthy. Abraham had a lot, also silver, gold, and all of that. But everywhere he went, people threw dirt in his wells. Listen, the well is where you get water from for your animals, for your land, also for you to drink normally and to bathe yourself. So water was very important. So wells were quite important back then. But people placed dirt in his wells. Isaac continued. Everywhere Isaac went, he was the number one. He was materially successful. So after years, a lot of those antagonists of him came to him, and Isaac even asked them, "Why are you guys here? You guys hate me." And they told them that they see that the Lord God is with him, and that therefore they want peace between them, that means between Isaac and them, so that Isaac won't attack them. And Isaac made peace. But hold on a minute. I want you to look at the bigger picture here. A well is something quite important. Without a well, you don't have fresh water, you can die. So when people placed dirt in his well, it was intended to make him and his cattle sick and they would die. It was an assault on his livelihood, an assault on his household, an assault on his very being. Because his household also contained people that were with him. It wasn't just Isaac and his wife Rebecca and the children they begot, and children later had. It was everyone that was with Isaac. And he did this everywhere he went. What if someone poisoned one of those wells? Because when you put dirt in a well, you're poisoning it because the water is not healthy anymore. So they were poisoning his wells, which would lead to diseases or death or other stuff around him. I mean, that's something serious. And here's the thing. Those opponents never even acknowledged they were wrong. They never repented. They never turned away from their old ways. They didn't even make a commitment to agree with the God of Isaac, so that the God of Isaac won't take action against them. They were so focused on Isaac that they forgot that it was the Lord that blessed Isaac. You get what I'm saying here? But just look at this. They didn't even acknowledge they're wrong. So according to them, it was right for them to resist Isaac by poisoning his wells and to endanger his life and the life of those around him. So here's the thing. They were in resistance against Isaac, but they realized that their efforts against Isaac was at their own expense. And they realized that Isaac became more and more materially powerful, they became more and more materially wealthy, despite everything they did against him. Sorry, I spoke too fast, so let me slow down. And here's the thing, because Isaac became more and more materially wealthy, despite their resistance, they realized, hold on a minute, someone was with this guy, and they found out he's a blessed man. So they realized, hold on a minute, If you continue like this man can take action against us and wipe us all out. So they realized Isaac's potential, and Isaac's potential frightened them. So they wanted to control Isaac in some ways that they are at ease. So they wanted to save their own behind, as they say it in street language. That's what they wanted to do. And they were quite open about it. They weren't even embarrassed. They didn't even try to, be kind and all of that. They just wanted to be relieved. And for some reason, they wanted Isaac to comply with their relief. But hold on a minute. They never repented, they never forfeited their enmity against Isaac. They just wanted a ceasefire so that they wouldn't be harmed in the future by their own negative investment. So they wanted to be bailed out of the consequences, while they didn't care at all for the harmful consequences that would have come befall Isaac. So in their minds, they were still in agreement against Isaac. They just didn't want to face the consequences of their agreement. So why would Isaac want peace with them? Now you may think, well, he has children and the people around him also want to be at peace. But hold on a minute. They were frightened that Isaac could attack them. So they realized Isaac had potential. Isaac was in a position to say, no, I'm not doing this. But Isaac, probably because he just wanted to get along as a human being together with them, he went along with it. And indeed, they never attacked him. But here's the thing. They were still in agreement against Isaac. So even though on the physical level they didn't take actions against Isaac, energetically, they were still energizing resistance against Isaac. And you know what Isaac became? When he was in his later years, he was blind. His health deteriorated. His marriage, man, I won't even begin about his marriage. Now, I'm not saying that about this marriage has its direct consequence of the psychic violence against Isaac, but the psychic violence did contribute, especially to his health. So, the people that were against Isaac got relief. They were at ease. And what did Isaac got from this peace agreement? He had to surrender his health. It cost him his long-term health. You get what I'm saying here? So anytime you, as a believer, agrees with the world, because the world will never agree with Christ, so when you agree with the world, it will always cost you something. And that's something that you shouldn't lose. Isaac surrendered his long-term health to be at ease with the wicked. And it did not benefit him at all. It didn't. Look, I'm not saying here that when people apologize, you have to decline their apology. I'm not saying here you have to remain bitter with people. I'm not saying that you have to always remind people of the past and always engage in fights with them, because that's not healthy for you nor for anyone else. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you to look at the bigger picture. I say it often, no amnesty without compliance. No compliance with justice implies no amnesty. And I already explained unto you how even the pagan courthouses of this world, which are found on the tradition of the Roman Empire which was run by Sodomites, that even in these Sodomite courthouses, even there, they are practical. And even there, if a criminal wants to be released from all charges, he either must be innocent or he must enter into a deal with the judge in which he forfeits his criminal activity and there's a commitment to comply with the law and with the government. And of course, with the safety of the community. If a criminal is not willing to do that, he'll go to jail. Okay? That's how it goes in those Sodomite courthouses. That's how it goes. And people look at it and say, well, that's practical. That's how it ought to be. But what did Isaac do? Isaac granted them amnesty without their compliance. Their only motive was they wanted to be left alone. And they couldn't be left alone, so they wanted Isaac to promise them he wouldn't attack them. But hold on a minute, where was their promise on their behalf that they would forfeit their attitude against Isaac and comply with justice? That means all the wells, they put dirt in. What about the restoring those wells? Or what about, how to say, digging new wells for him? What about some financial compensation for the fact Isaac had to move so often because they were against him? What about taking responsibility for their attitude and their actions? What about that? Look, I'm not an accuser. I am for peace. I am for reconciliation. I am for people gathering along and all of that. What I'm not for is false peace, in which you are taken advantage of in the long run. I mean, okay, let's look at this way. Let's say there are a group of bankers, for example, and they scammed the population. They robbed the insurance money of many people. A lot of folks lost their homes because they couldn't pay their mortgage anymore because, well, due to the theft by the bankers. Okay, and those bankers became multimillionaires. They bought houses in Southeast Asia. They had they went on expensive flights, first class, sometimes business class. They had a harem of women that pleased them, which were most prostitutes. Most of them were prostitutes. So they had this luxurious, licentious lifestyle at the expense of the population that they drained and exploited. Some people even committed suicide due to the sudden financial distress they had. And now those bankers have to face trial. And one of them tells the judge, "Sir, we realize that we are caught. We can't scam people anymore. Please, sir, we want to be left alone. We want you to promise us that you will not prosecute us and that you will give us protection against all those angry people whom we defrauded. We can't turn back time. We can't undo what we did, so we just have to move on from here." Let's say one of them would tell the judge that. How do you think that judge who follows the Sodomites Roman structure of this world, how do you think he's going to react? He will say unto him, "You're right. We can't turn back time. Those people that committed suicide, you can't give them back their life. There are things that can't be changed. We have to move on. And because we have to move on, I'm going to make plain unto this human community that lives here that nobody can commit fraud at the expense of others' safety and get away with it. So you are going to spend the next 35 years in prison. There you are protected from the angry rage of the people you defrauded, and there nobody will attack you." That's how the judge would respond, or something in that manner. He would never give in to the unreasonable demand of that narcissistic banker to be left alone. And here's the thing, the judge even added, and while you're going to jail, all the luxury that you gained is going to be sold and divided amongst those that were defrauded by you. And the rest of it will be given to the poor. But then the banker said, "But judge, what about my kids? They won't have any inheritance anymore." And then the judge told him they never had an inheritance. Never had an inheritance to begin with. And here's the thing, you forgot about all those people that lost their homes and whose kids now went into debt. Some of them, their marriages broke. What about them? You only talk about yourself. Now, in this parable, this judge engages with the criminal banker. He doesn't engage with him in an angry manner, but he simply makes clear to the banker, this can't go like this. The banker in this case didn't even consider donating the money he stole back to the people he stole it from. He didn't even consider doing something productive for the community, for the fact that the community has been harmed and now he has forfeited his old ways, so now he wants to do the right thing. He never even mentioned any of that. Yet he wanted to be granted amnesty, just so he could return to his luxurious lifestyle as if nothing ever happened. Now look, I'm not telling you not to walk in peace with people. If someone really wants to have peace for real and they're willing to comply, you can reconcile with them. I'm all for reconciliation, but I'm not for reconciliation at all costs. What Isaac did was not wise. Okay? And that's why there are many families out there, or there are many communities out there in which crime, child molestation, and many of those other plagues keep haunting them generation after generation because they did as Isaac did, granting amnesty without compliance. And I'm telling you, that's very dangerous. Where did you ever saw Jesus when he walked the earth granting amnesty to the scribes and Pharisees? Where did you see Moses granting amnesty to Pharaoh and the Egyptians? Where did you see Elijah or Jehu granting amnesty to Jezebel and Jezebel's priests? Where did you see David granting amnesty to Goliath and Goliath's brothers? Okay? I mean, seriously, when you look at what Isaac did, it was not wise. So we must learn from what he did so we wouldn't repeat it. Because doing this can get you killed or can bring those around you in harm's way. For example, if you grew up in a household in which your mother enabled your narcissistic alcoholic father and she refused to stand up to that man, or she refused to bring you guys in safety, she chose to remain with that man to gratify her lust for validation at your expense, and your children couldn't defend yourself. If that happened, and now you're an adult, you have your own family, and your mother suddenly wants to have contact with you, then ask yourself, why is she coming? If it can be that your dad has died and she has nobody else anymore. Now, does she want contact? Again, because she has remorse, because she has repented, because she wants to comply with justice? Or does she want contact just because she doesn't want to face the consequence of her growing old alone? Now that that bastard is gone and people don't want to put up with her anymore. What is it? Yes, you can be compassionate to your mom in this case, but why is she there? Because remember, she endangered you when you were just a kid. That's something serious. She never repented of it. She never forfeited her wrong attitude towards that guy. She even remained with the guy till the guy died. So she remained faithful in enabling danger onto you, enabling danger to the whole community around her. So she is someone to be avoided. If you would grant her amnesty by allowing her to come back in your good graces and to be amongst her grandchildren, she wants the validation of being a grandmother, so she wants the grandchildren around her. She will endanger your grandchildren. You'll be endangering your own kids by allowing her to get close. See things as they are. Don't do as Isaac did. Look, as a human being, there are times you get fed up and tired of all the conflict, of all the psych attacks and all of that, and just want ease. Okay, I can understand that. I can relate to that. Okay, just beware that you don't agree with a peace agreement that Christ is not involved in. If Christ is not involved in the peace, it's no peace. Because Christ is the Prince of Peace. That means he rules peace. That means that any peace that excludes him is no peace at all. Just a contract of relief in which both parties lose less, but still one party loses more to benefit the other. That is what all peace agreements are without Christ. Look, I'm not saying you have to demand, let me say this. I'm not telling you to demand the impossible from those that harmed you in the past, or to, for example, they can't undo the past and all of that. You realize that and you move on. I'm not telling you to hold on to impossible expectations. I'm just telling you, be real. If they haven't forfeited their unexamined expectations, that means they're still in agreement with them and they're still enabling them. Okay? That means that if it were possible, they would bring back the good old times in which they could energize whatever they wanted at all costs and get away with it. It's because they can't do it anymore, either because their age or due to circumstances and relationships that have changed, that now they get along with the practical. So it's just because they have no other option. Ask yourself, if the situation would remain the same, or if there was more advantage in their hands, would they still want peace with you? Would they have backed down? If the answer is no, then you know what you're dealing with. What happened here was that Isaac was hoovered by narcissists. And Isaac fell for it. Well, I'm telling you, don't fall for it. Me, I don't fall for it. I evaluate the people that get close to me. I evaluate them spiritually. And when I see that they are energized in the negative and they keep persisting in it, well, I'm telling you clearly, I'm not going to grant them amnesty by having my trust. I won't do that. I may have superficial trust that you have with all people in general, but real trust, I would not grant them. Absolutely not. I mean, let me give another parable, then I'm going to close. If you had terrorists, for some people that financed ISIS, for example, some people went out there to Syria to fight, and they killed people, did a lot of bad stuff, and suddenly they return. They want to come back to Britain or to the Netherlands or to France or wherever. They want to come back, continue with their daily life before they left, as if nothing happened. And everyone just has to accept it. Now, do you think the logo is going to accept that? No. The logo is going to say, you betrayed us. You forfeited us. You chose the enemy side against us. You endangered us. You went and fight for the enemy. You killed people, did a lot of those stuff. And now you're back and just have to pretend as if nothing ever happened. And not only do you want to come back, you also want to be treated well. You also have demands. Do you think the logo is going to accept this? No, they wouldn't. And you're right, they shouldn't. Unless you can prove that you forfeited that terrorist organization, you forfeit those terrorist ideals, and you're now contributing to the community, to the well-being of the community, and you're dedicated and committed to it, unless you can reveal that the community has no obligation to trust you and take you back into their midst. Even the government would agree with them. Even criminals, hardcore criminals who are behind bars would agree with the community. And that's why I'm telling you that this thing called pagan Christianity is very dangerous. Pagan Christianity picks that bad move of Isaac and they make it onto an ideal. Okay? Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't aim for peace with people. Yes, you should. Okay? However, a peace that excludes Christ is no peace at all. Okay? I'm not saying that they all have to become just like you, praising the Lord and shouting and all of that. But if they don't even want to be real and be accountable for their contribution, if they don't even want to forfeit the old ways, but if they don't even want to be realistic by forfeiting the old ways and looking for new ways, then why do they want amnesty? They just want to be bailed out so they can continue in a negative. And if the opportunity would arrive in the future, they will either reenact the past again, because they never depart from the past, or they will allow that to happen to you, because now they're in the advantage again. Look, I'm not saying things like once a thief, always a thief. I'm not saying all of those things, okay? I'm just telling you, don't fall for the hoovering of narcissists. Don't fall for the hoovering of demons. Well, that's it for now. Agree with Christ and be at peace.